watch Indian movies? What's your take about it?
I grew up watching Bollywood. I would love for Idris Elba to be the next James Bond. That there's a growing need for different voices coming into cinema. I've seen a lot of misogyny in not only films coming from the African continent, films coming from Hollywood, films coming from India, and that's why we need to include more female filmmakers. I stand with the people of Palestine.
We have with us Wanuri Kahiu, the Kenyan film director, author and producer. She's been one of the most aspiring directors of Africa. And now we have with us, hi, and first of all, congratulations for winning the Spirit of Cinema Award for IFFK. How do you have to look at this? How do you look at this film festival? What is your first thoughts about Kerala and India?
I am so excited to be here in Kerala because I've heard so much about the audiences and the love of cinema that's coming out of this part of the world and this very specific part of India. Right. So I've had other films play here at the Kerala Film Festival, and I am so deeply honored and so humbled to have received the Spirit of Cinema Award here in Kerala, because it's my first time to come to India, and the place that I came is a place that is full of love of cinema. So I am very humbled.
Okay, your movie Rafiki has now been banned by the Kenyan government, and you approached the court, right? Do you think that such movies, which is connected with LGBTQ Cure Love, do you think there is suppression against such kind of art films, across the globe, or is it just confined to Africa or Asia? What do you think about that?
I think that there's a growing need for different voices coming into cinema. Right. And I'm very excited to be part of a filmmaking community that speaks about support of oppressed people, including the support of oppressed people like the LGBT plus community. Yeah. And these are the voices that are most necessary to be included in cinema. The voices of the oppressed, the voices of people who are being downtrodden. Those are the voices that we need to stand with the most, including the voices of filmmakers and the voices of storytellers that are coming out of Palestine. Right. It's important to be able to stand with people who have no choice in their life but to be oppressed, and who have no choices but to try and resist the system that represses them. So I stand with people who are marginalized and who have sometimes have not had the opportunity to use their voice in ways that they should be allowed to.
Also, Wanuri, I would like to take this question: that do you think artists, actors, from African subcontinent are being represented in the Hollywood? What do you make out of that?
I think there's a growing increase of African filmmakers moving into Hollywood, just like there are filmmakers from around the world. Right. But what is happening now, and we can see it with the different things that have been happening on the African continent, like Wakanda, like Black is King, that there is a growing need for Africa to be also part of the storytelling culture of cinema. Right. And so I'm very excited about adding my voice and bringing with me many more filmmakers from the continent to join us in an international forum where our voices can be amplified. Right.
Idris Elba is now, they say that he could be the next James Bond. Do you have any take on that? Have you heard of that? Idris Elba?
I would love for Idris Elba to be the next James Bond, because it would start to really decolonize the mind and the stories that we've been told for so long about having white saviors. And now it's time to make sure that our saviors are people of color. And it would be incredible, not only like Idris Elba, but Dev Patel to be included, and to be and for other people of color to be honored in spaces that we haven't seen before.
What's your take about Indian movies, especially the Bollywood movies? Do you watch Indian movies, or what's your take about it?
I grew up watching Bollywood films, so I have a deep love for Bollywood films, and also I have a really great compassion for this Kerala and the films that are coming out of Kerala. I really want to be able to explore more, but and also because we're all part of the same filmmaking community, I have learned so much from Bollywood cinema, and I'm so grateful to this festival because I had a chance to meet one of my favorite directors from last year, who was the director of the last film show, and he's part of the jury at the International Kerala Film Festival now. And it's incredible that we can meet filmmakers from around the world and make sure that we're connected to them and that we continue to build a community.
Right. Also, there is this Afro Bubblegum festival that's going on in various parts of Africa. What's your, how do you, can you just explain it to our viewers what exactly it is and how is it going to make a change in the community?
Afro Bubblegum is a way of changing the narrative to include voices of joy and voices of hope. Afro Bubblegum is art for art's sake, imagination first art. It is art that is driven by the creativity and the heart of African people and people of color. That is the way we start stopping the idea of a single story, of a story of despair and poverty that comes out of Africa, by adding our voices of strength, joy and resilience. And in that way we can stop the negative stereotypes that have continued to pervade our society and include new stereotypes of joy, hope and resilience in a way that hasn't been seen before.
Also, there are a lot of controversies among, if you look at the mainstream cinemas, be it Indian cinema, any cinema, that this misogynism, gender inequality is growing. How do you look at that? Have you observed something in such movies? Have you observed such trends, at least in Hollywood or Bollywood?
I've seen a lot of misogyny in not only films coming from the African continent, films coming from Hollywood, films coming from India, and that's why we need to include more female filmmakers as voices adding to the conversation. And we need to recognize that we cannot have a global cinematic voice if half of the human population is not being recognized. We need to be sure that if we are positive about creating a cinematic voice, the only way to do it is by making sure women's voices are included. And by including women's voices, we can remove the misogyny that is part of it. But also it is important to make sure that as we make films as filmmakers, to create safe spaces on the crew where women feel acknowledged and heard and safe spaces in audiences where women feel like they can watch films without feeling like they're going to be terrorized because of their gender, because of what's happening to women on the screen, and safe spaces in the communities around us. That is the most important thing that we can do now, is make sure that we're standing as allies with women if you are non-female, and with also people who identify as non-binary and people who have found new ways of expressing their individuality. That is as important as making sure that women feel safe.
As we speak right now, there is this, a major conflict going on in Gaza, where a lot of people have lost their life, especially children, women. How do you look at this? Do you think what can be the solution? How do you, from an African subcontinent, from there, how do you look at this?
As a continent that has gone through colonization and oppression, and has been and has seen the worst kind of violence and terror committed by colonizers, I stand with the people of Palestine against the hurt and discrimination that they have suffered. Some have suffered at the hands of Hamas, and some have suffered from the hands of militant Israeli. So because of that, my heart is filled with compassion and love for the suffering of people, because the one thing that we should be working together as a human race is making sure that the only political struggle that we all fight against is human suffering. We must fight against human suffering as a political struggle.
Wish you all the best for your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
For such fine news breaks and video features from ground on your mobile phones, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, The New Indian, by clicking on the bell icon. Also, follow us on the social media handles on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and Co.